He was down to his last shot at turning his life around. And just when everything hung in the balance, he stopped to help a stranger in heels. He missed the interview that could have changed everything. What he didn't know was that the woman he helped already had the power to rewrite his future. Quinton Ray didn't own a clock, but he didn't need one. His body was trained like muscle memory, up by 5 every morning. He sat up slowly from the flattened futon cushion, laid across the hardwood floor of a friend's one-bedroom in Tulsa. It wasn't his place, not really. But for 4 months, it was the only roof he could count on. The air was cool and the silence hung heavy. Still, Quinton moved with purpose. He turned on the old stove, placed a rusted kettle over the flame. There was no coffee, and he wasn't hoping for any. He needed steam, just enough to press the only button-up shirt he owned. Pale blue, frayed collar, missing cuff button. But with the right crease, it looked like it belonged in an office. He didn't complain. Quinton never did, because complaints didn't pay bills. They didn't land interviews, and they sure didn't erase a 2-year gap on a resume. A gap that started the day his mother passed and ended with an eviction notice. He pressed the shirt carefully, letting the warm air fill the kitchen, then moved to his shoes. Black leather, cracked on the sides, but still in one piece. He rubbed them down with a towel dipped in cooking oil, just enough to give them a faint shine. Interview at 10. Don't be late, he told himself in the cracked mirror. By 7:30, he was out the door, a half-eaten granola bar in his pocket. Bus fare and coins, borrowed from Mr. Lawton downstairs, a retired veteran who watched old westerns at full volume. Quinton had promised to pay him back the moment he got hired. He walked to the bus stop with his head high. He wasn't going to let desperation show. He'd read somewhere, maybe on a job site, that how you carry yourself matters more than your resume. So he carried himself like a man with options, not like someone who hadn't had a steady paycheck in over a year. The morning was cool in Tulsa, the sky still dim, sidewalks mostly empty. He walked the last 2 blocks, instead of transferring to another bus, partly to save the fare, mostly to clear his head. Each step was like practicing a line. What are your strengths? I show up. I care. What's your biggest weakness? I never ask for help, even when I should. Why do you want this job? Because I want to build something I'm proud of. At 9:30, he saw the building, glass panels, sharp corners. DuPont Grove's Tulsa branch, not a towering skyscraper, but still too clean, too polished for someone like him. Still, he stood straighter as he approached. Just before the crosswalk, something caught his eye. A woman, dressed sharp, balancing a designer tote and a coffee cup. Her heel was stuck, caught in a crack between the sidewalk panels, near the corner of Elm and 14th. She tugged at her foot, frustrated, embarrassed. Cars slowed, some honked, people passed. No one helped. Quinton didn't think. He just moved, his pocket buzzed. He ignored it. He had a decision to make fast. And he didn't hesitate. Need a hand? He asked, already crouching down. The woman looked startled. Up close, she looked like someone who never missed a hair appointment. Tight bob, clean makeup, silk blouse under a navy trench coat. Probably late 30s, maybe older, but the kind of woman who didn't need to raise her voice to command a room. I don't know what happened. She tried to laugh, but her voice was tight, trying not to show nerves. You're stuck right in the crack, he said, gently working the heel side to side. She braced herself against a nearby pole, muttered something about drivers being maniacs. He smiled. Yeah, they only slow down for sirens. The heel was wedged deep, rubber peeling. She looked down and sighed. I just bought these, 5th pair this month. Quinton chuckled. I've had these shoes since high school. Can't imagine going through 5 in a month. She looked at him again, softer now. You in a rush? He could have said yes. He could have told her about the interview, the job, the one shot he had, but he didn't. Sort of. But I'm not leaving you stuck here. One more twist. The heel popped free. She stumbled. He caught her elbow. There we go. She exhaled, relieved. I thought I'd have to walk in barefoot. That'd be one way to make an entrance. She smiled. This time for real. What's your name? Quinton Ray. Well, Quinton Ray, thank you. I owe you one. She checked her watch and winced. I'm actually late myself. Then she was gone, striding into the crowd like nothing happened. Quinton looked at his watch. 9:54. His chest tightened. He ran, dodged a truck, nearly dropped his resume folder, pushed through the glass doors. "Hi, I'm here for an interview. With DuPont Grove. 10 o'clock. Name's Quinton Ray." The receptionist looked up, clicked around, then gave a polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm sorry, Mr. Ray. Miss Ames was only scheduled until 10. She already stepped out." Quinton blinked. "Wait, can you check? I just helped someone on the street. She left about 5 minutes ago. I'm sorry." He stood there, holding his folder like it meant something, his breath shallow. He forced a smile. "Thank you." Then walked out slowly, careful not to let the door slam. The world outside felt louder. The buses seemed faster. The sun hotter. He sat on a bench, let the folder rest on his lap. Maybe I blew it. Maybe I should have kept walking. But then he remembered her face, how no one else had stopped. And even though his stomach was empty and his palms were sweating, he told himself, doing the right thing doesn't always get you a reward, but it's still the right thing. And right then, he had no idea that the woman with the stuck heel was the one who ran the company. And she was already watching, already remembering, and already rewriting his future. He had no formal training, no mentor, no degree. But he taught himself, Excel on YouTube, tracked bills and groceries, created budget plans, even built a little mock app for grocery stores. Tried pitching it once, went nowhere. "Show me," she said. He blinked. "What, pull it up? I don't have a laptop." She slid one across the table. "You've got 10 minutes. His hands moved slower than he wanted, but his mind remembered the links. Screenshots saved in his email drafts. Each tab, each function. He walked her through it all. She watched without interrupting. And when he finished, the room went quiet. "You built that, no training, just trial and error." She smiled. "I like people who figure things out." Then she stood. "That'll be all for today." He stood too, uncertain. No offer, no rejection, just silence, like a closed door with no sound behind it. But as he walked out, a strange thought followed him. Maybe this wasn't about a job anymore. Maybe she was testing something else entirely. The air outside didn't feel heavier, didn't feel lighter. It just felt unfinished. Quinton walked down 6th Street with his phone clenched in his hand, replaying every second of that meeting. Her tone, her eyes, the way she let silence linger. No small talk, no comfort, just that phrase. "That'll be all for today." He wasn't even sure it was an interview. It felt like a read, like she was seeing past his words and into the quiet parts he hadn't said aloud. Corey picked him up 20 minutes later, tapped the steering wheel. "So, how'd it go?" Quinton didn't answer at first. "I don't know, man. It felt good, but also not. Like maybe she was impressed, or maybe I'm being watched and I don't know the rules." They didn't talk much after that. That night, Quinton sat at the kitchen table, same clothes, staring at a blank sheet of paper. He wanted to write it all down, every glance, every pause. But the details slipped like steam through his fingers. He didn't sleep, but this time, it wasn't fear. It was curiosity. Why reschedule him herself? Why not just send a polite rejection? Why ask to see something? Then end it without telling him what it meant. By morning, the questions buzzed like static in his head. Then the email came. Subject Thursday from Alora Finch. Message short. Direct Miss DuPont would like you to return Thursday at 1 p.m. She has something she'd like to show you. Bring nothing. 2 words stuck. Bring nothing. It didn't feel like an invitation. It felt like a summons. Thursday came fast. Quinton wore the same outfit. Clean pressed shoes shined again. This time, he arrived 10 minutes early, sat in the lobby, back straight, hands folded. At exactly 1, the elevator opened. Alora stood waiting. This way, but instead of heading toward Marin's office, she turned left, opened a door to a small glass-walled conference room. Inside, Marin sat at the head of the table. Beside her, 2 men and 1 woman. Dressed in silence, watches that didn't tick, confidence that didn't ask permission. Quinton swallowed, sat down as instructed, spine straight, palms sweating. "This," Marin said, "is not an interview." One of the men leaned in. "We asked Marin to bring someone who could think on their feet. Someone with judgment under pressure. She said she had someone. Quinton blinked. Me. Marin nodded. That morning you helped me. You didn't know who I was. You were late. But you stopped. You chose someone else's problem over your own risk. The woman beside her added. We run a small outreach branch inside DuPont Grove. Mentorships, community programs. We've been talking about expanding, bringing in people who know struggle firsthand. Quinton leaned forward. Still catching up. So, is this a job? Not quite, Marin said. It's a trial. 30 days. You'll work with our outreach coordinator, see how you handle the day-to-day. If it works, we bring you on full-time. Quinton didn't speak at first. His heart beat against the edge of the table. This wasn't a job offer, not yet. One of the men cut in. This isn't about degrees, it's about instinct, and you've already shown that. Quinton exhaled. I'll do it. Whatever it takes. The room cracked into smiles. Good. Marin stood. Report to Building B, back entrance, Monday, 8 a.m. She shook his hand. This is yours to lose, Quinton Ray. But he didn't know yet. That someone in that room had already decided to make it harder. He walked out that Thursday like someone carrying glass, something fragile, something he couldn't afford to drop even once. It wasn't a job, not really. It was a dare, a challenge wrapped in opportunity. And those words stayed with him. This is yours to lose. It didn't sound like trust. It sounded like warning. Monday came fast. He didn't wear the suit. The email said, dress ready to move, so he wore jeans, a clean tee, same shoes, same sole, notebook in his back pocket. Out of habit. Building B was older, tucked behind the main campus. It looked more like storage than purpose. A taped paper sign on the door read, Community Team, use back entrance inside. Long tables, donation bins, faded posters, a whiteboard with overlapping schedules. Someone had drawn a smiley face next to Youth Meeting. Behind the desk, a tall woman with copper curls tied back. You must be Quinton. Yeah, you the outreach coordinator? That's me, Jessa Barron. Been here 6 years, long enough to know how wild it gets. She shook his hand, gestured around the room. This is home base. It looks like chaos, but it works. You'll shadow me. We've got 4 partnerships this month. Youth mentorship, senior meals, neighborhood cleanups, and second start. That last one, she said, is for guys like you. Quinton raised an eyebrow. Like me. She grinned. It's a good thing. We want people who've lived it. They spent the day sorting donated clothes, taking calls from schools. By noon, he was hauling tables to a rec center. By 3, he was scrubbing graffiti with teen volunteers. It wasn't glamorous, but it felt real. Jessa worked him hard. No shortcuts, no special treatment, no talk of Marin, just tasks and how he handled them. By the second week, things got complicated. Rain fell hard Tuesday morning. Jessa was sick, and someone had to lead the prep meeting at second start. I'm trusting you with this, she said over the phone. Talk to them. Hear them. He did. He shook hands, listened, heard about broken systems. One man named Vernon talked about losing everything over one hospital bill. Quinton felt that. Deep after the meeting, he cleaned up, planned to report it all back, but the next day, he got called into a room. Rodney Hales, one of the men from the first meeting. Sit. Quinton did. Rodney flipped through a folder. You're here, because Marin sees something. That doesn't mean you've proven anything. Quinton nodded. Rodney leaned in. You've shown up. Smiled. Lifted boxes. That's the easy part. What happens when it all falls apart? Quinton paused, then said it softly. I adapt. I don't quit. Rodney stared. Let's see if that's true. But Quinton had no idea. The real test was already waiting for him. The next morning, he arrived before 7:45. Jessa, still out sick. Caden, a junior coordinator, held the desk. Second start called. They want you back. Said you helped last time. Quinton nodded, grabbed a supply kit, took the bus. When he got there, something felt off, tension in the air, missing volunteers, residents whispering. He saw Vernon, holding a clipboard, looking angry. 3 people. About to get kicked out, over forms they never got. Quinton went to the back office. Tina Brost, new admin, said it was policy. No form, no stay. Quinton asked if she knew they'd ever receive the forms. She said, if it's not in the file, it doesn't exist. He called Jessa. Check the bottom drawer, look for the March log. He did. Found it. 3 names, marked NA. Forms not printed. He printed proof, brought it back to Tina. She didn't argue, just read it. By noon, the residents had new forms, new deadlines, still had a roof. Vernon clapped his back. We need more like you. Quinton didn't tell anyone. Not Jessa, not Caden, not even Marin. He hadn't done it for credit. But 2 days later, Marin called him into her office. Tell me about Tuesday, she said. Quinton told her the truth. He didn't flinch. You didn't mention it to anyone, she said. That's what impressed me. He shrugged. It wasn't about me, it was about them. She nodded. Exactly. And then she said something that changed everything. She looked him in the eye and said it plain. I brought you here because we need people who understand why this work matters, not just how to do it. He searched her face for the catch. So what now? She walked to her desk, pulled a folder from the drawer, set it gently in front of him. You've seen what our community branch looks like on the ground, but you haven't seen what it looks like when we build. He opened it slowly. Blueprints, schedules, grant proposals, and at the top, a new project called Lift Tulsa. She continued. It's a partnership between DuPont Grove and 3 other local orgs. We launch in 3 months, and we need someone who can walk in both worlds. Someone who can step into a boardroom at 10 and a food pantry at 3, without changing who they are. You want me to run it? He asked carefully. Not yet, she said. That'd be too much too fast. But I want you in the room. I want you learning everything. Strategy, funding, people management. Because I'm building you for something bigger. He stared at the folder. This doesn't feel real. I know, she said. It didn't feel real for me either, when I got my first shot. But someone gave it to me, and now I'm giving it to you. He closed the folder slowly, still trying to believe it. Then she said something he didn't expect. People are going to underestimate you. Some won't say it, but you'll feel it. And every time they question whether you belong, they're telling on themselves, not on you. His throat tightened. He didn't know what to say. She went on softer now. I've been in rooms where I was the only woman, where power ignored me, where money talked over me. I stopped waiting for permission. You should too. He looked up. Why me? She walked around the desk, leaned against its edge. Because when I was stuck on the sidewalk in heels, I regretted buying. Looking helpless. You didn't ask questions, you just helped. That told me more than any resume ever could. Quinton stood slowly. Then I'm all in. She reached out her hand, this time, not as a test, but as a promise. Good, she said. We start Monday. Real work. You'll sit in on meetings, planning sessions, strategy calls. Bring your questions, bring your opinions. He smiled. I've got both. Then we're in business. As he walked past the glass doors and into the Oklahoma sun, it hit him. This wasn't just a second chance. This was his first real one. But not everyone in the company believed he belonged, and someone was already planning to make that painfully clear. Monday morning, he showed up early, not in jeans, but in a crisp navy shirt and slacks. Jessa had helped him find them at a thrift store. It's time they see what you already know, she'd told him, with a wink. Inside the building, the energy had changed. He wasn't here to shadow anymore. He was on the planning team now. Sitting at the same table as people with titles and budgets. The meeting began in the West Conference Room. Polished wood, panoramic views, a quiet projector humming in the ceiling. Marin led the session. Next to her stood a man in a tailored blazer, clicking through slides. Quinton recognized him instantly. Rodney Hales. Rodney barely nodded at him. Still, Quinton sat tall, opened his notebook, and paid attention. Marin spoke. Lift Tulsa will launch with 2 pillars, job training and community housing. We're partnering with 3 organizations and aligning them with internal teams. This isn't just outreach, it's investment. Then she turned to the table. I've asked Quinton Ray to join these early sessions, because he's been doing the work quietly for weeks and his insight matters. Some looked surprised. Some smiled politely. Rodney just shifted the pen between his fingers. When discussion opened, Quinton stayed quiet at first, listening. But when the conversation turned to outreach, he cleared his throat. "Can I say something?" The room stilled. Marin nodded. Most of the people we're trying to help don't trust institutions anymore. They've been told before that someone's coming to fix things. But those people usually leave after 2 weeks, if we're serious. We can't just mail flyers and launch websites. We've got to show up. Again and again, until it doesn't feel like charity. It feels like relationship. One woman nodded. Another scribbled in her notes. Then Rodney spoke. "I appreciate the sentiment, but this is a high-budget initiative. We can't center everything around soft trust building. We've got deliverables." Quinton didn't flinch. "Then we're building something that'll collapse the moment we walk away." Rodney went quiet, turned to Marin. But she smiled. "That's exactly why he's here." After the meeting, Rodney caught him near the coffee table. "You're walking a fine line. Marin's backing you now, but people are going to start asking. What makes you qualified to be here?" Quinton met his eyes. "Maybe they should ask what made you forget, why this place was built in the first place." Rodney smiled, cold tapped his cup, and walked away. Quinton didn't tell Marin. Didn't need to. He wasn't here for office politics. He was here for people. People like Vernon, the mother with 2 kids, the teen with nowhere else to go. He dove into the work. Hard budget sessions, partner maps, new mentorship proposals. He even stayed late to rewrite intake forms so they actually made sense. One night, alone in the building, he caught his reflection in the lobby glass. Same face, same eyes, but standing taller now. He wasn't just surviving anymore, he was building something. But someone else was busy digging, looking for anything to take him down. It was Thursday night. He returned from a meeting, dropped off paperwork at his desk. There it was, a folded envelope, no name, just wait inside. His old arrest record, a parking ticket, a suspended license, one overnight in county jail. He stared at it, took a deep breath, then walked straight to Marin's office. She was still there, shoes off, reading grant drafts. He handed her the envelope. She opened it, read it. "I figured this might come up. You knew HR flagged it. I overruled them. Why didn't you ask? Because I wanted to see who you were now, not who you were on paper." She leaned back, tone sharp. "But someone clearly wants this to matter. More than it should. I'll find out who." He stood there. That old voice whispering, "This is where it ends. I don't want trouble. I just want to work." She shook her head. "You think this disqualifies you?" "I almost lost everything once. Over a loan I co-signed at 24. I sat in court with my mother, hoping the judge wouldn't take it all. She dropped the file. If you're going to build anything that matters, people will dig into your past. But they don't define your future. You do." He exhaled slowly. "So what now? Now you get back to work. I'll handle the rest." The next morning, Rodney was reassigned quietly. Another state, another office, no questions asked. From there, things moved fast. Lift Tulsa launched. Quinton was named assistant coordinator, then full coordinator. 3 months later, he ran meetings, led city partnerships, returned to the same shelter. But this time, he stood there as a leader. At a press event, a reporter asked, "What changed everything for you?" He smiled, a stuck heel. The crowd chuckled, but he meant it. After the cameras left, he walked outside, to that same sidewalk where she'd stood years ago, stuck frustrated. That's where it began. He thought of the ones who helped him. Mr. Lawton, Corey, Jessa, people who had little, but gave anyway, and the ones who only help when the cameras are rolling. That's what people forget. He thought kindness isn't supposed to be convenient. It's supposed to be real. He walked back toward the office, 2 teens arguing on the corner. One dropped a folder of papers. Without thinking, Quinton bent down, picked them up, handed them back. "Thanks, man." "No problem." And as he walked away, he understood something fully for the first time. Helping someone when no one's watching, That's the part of the resume that actually matters.